comes, you get a shot where Furman was standing. There are now bloody socks. The first video you saw, no Furman, no bloody socks. You see Furman, then you see bloody socks.
Right.
Okay, he found the gloves. He lived 28 miles from the crime scene, but he was there less than 5 minutes after the scene. He had been trying to date Nicole. Nicole owed every big-time drug dealer in West Hollywood and West Los Angeles a lot of money.
Right.
There were witnesses to say that Furman had been over there 11 times trying to hit on her. Next thing, witnesses testified that OJ had actually caught her having sex on the couch. His reaction was, why don't you just go to a damn motel or some fool's apartment? If you're going to screw them, don't let the girls catch you.
Right.
So he even threw some money at her. Go put that away and don't spend it on drugs. Now, next thing, it was interesting that I found of interest. They had two people in the federal witness protection program that you saw testified. Their faces were shaded and they had voice disguises on. And they said they were in the federal witness protection program, that their girlfriends were Nicole's natural sisters, and they assumed the message was them. You know, all that DNA. Well, the expert who taught two of the state's witnesses and also had testified as a state's witness says this is not OJ. This is similar. Said, but there are 96,000 people in the LA area that could have donated it. And this is what he said was interesting. He said the DNA reflected in this is typical of someone from Northeast Mediterranean ancestry, or interestingly enough, from the island of Sicily. So now you got some folk in the mob, and here's somebody in Sicily because somebody accidentally cut themselves and left the blood sample on the scene. So also the people that had testified, they operated the impound lot for 27 years for LAPD's benefit, testified when they brought the Bronco in, there wasn't a drop of blood. It was flood lit. Everybody was curious. 11 days later, when they were asked to go tow it to another location, it was full of blood. They didn't have the keys to the compound. All of this kind of stuff, it's like most of the lawyers and judges I know that sat in on the trial said there was no evidence. They didn't even see how they got an indictment against OJ. And the reason you think, and America thinks, that OJ walked away from something he did, there was a
No, I don't think that.
No, not you. But you know why mainstream thinks he walked away? Because there was a sleaze reporting it. Her name is Nancy Grace. That was her first assignment. She lied, misconstrued stuff. She said it devastating evidence against OJ. I was there. And it turns out the witnesses who were, well, not witnesses, but people who worked in the courtroom said she'd show up at the end of everything and ask what happened.
May I interject this? I believe, I know that everything that you said fits everything that I've read, because I went over the autopsy a lot. But I think the thing that needs to be, there's 2 points that I like to interject, and hopefully you can embrace them or do whatever you're going to do with them. One, I always run into people who can't accept those facts that you brought up, because inside of them is something that says a black man cannot walk away from a white woman no matter what her disposition is. This was a crackhead, a cocaine addict, crackhead hoe, and OJ had another girlfriend that was nice, and he was OJ, but they still think he wasn't able to walk away from her. And secondly, I think about this, after all of that, the DNA under her nails now should be able to be identified in a way where they could at least exonerate OJ, and then America would have to come to terms and apologize in some kind of way.
Well, they're not going to do that. They're not going to do that. It doesn't fit the narrative. And see, it doesn't fit the narrative.
We're trying to change the narrative too. There are souls.
And remember, this is going on 30 years ago when this happened.
Yes.
Now, the bright side, Johnny Cochran showed something that I saw when I was sitting on the bench. Before that, everybody thought if you wanted a real defense lawyer, you had to go get a Jew boy. All right.
Okay. Yep.
Not anybody black. After that, white boys started showing up with black lawyers because they saw Johnny cut up. Johnny kicked some ass. I met him in 1966. I considered us to be personal friends. We talked.
Yeah.
Basically, what he did was to promote justice. He engineered it to one of the 13 judicial districts in Los Angeles where the man could get a fair trial. He selected the jury in a way that Darden and Marcia Clark were too amateurish and stupid to recognize. And he got what they thought was going to be a harsh jury for OJ, but what Johnny Cochran was looking for was black folk with significant experience of LAPD growing up. So he got people 45, 50, 55, and they knew LAPD was a bunch of gangster Gestapo folk from way back.
Absolutely.
So that's how he won the trial. They weren't predisposed to believe the police. Now, they required strict proof, and they got none. They stayed out half hour because apparently what happened, and I've heard this from administering juries, is a jury room used to be on the other side of the wall from my chambers. So my chambers wall was the wall to one of the jury rooms, and I could hear them.
Yeah.
Anybody see anything at all that looked like somebody was guilty? No. Well, you got any coffee? Well, let me make some. Drink the coffee. Who wants to be the foreman? I will be. Well, what are we supposed to do? Well, they got a form in here. Well, write it up. Anybody feel that he's anything other than not guilty? No. Well, let's do it. Well, okay, why don't you be the foreman since you already did it? Okay, well, I'll be the foreman.
Right. Okay. Well, and I thank you for giving me that content right there, Joe. That's Your Honor. I'm sorry. That is valuable. Now, you mentioned Cosby. Now,
let me tell you what's wrong with Cosby.
Okay.
Let me tell you what happened with him.
I love it.
The far left is trying to erode the Fifth Amendment. First Amendment, let's start with that one very briefly. You're supposed to say anything you want to say so long as you're a member of a protected class. But if anybody says anything about the protected class that makes them feel uncomfortable, no, your First Amendment rights are abridged. For example, if you want to see who that is, well, they can call black folk the N-word. You can call brown folk, yellow folk, white folk, all kinds of dirty folk. But the rainbow folk, you say anything bad, then Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook will take action against you.
Okay.
You know, so the rule of propaganda is if you want to find out who's trying to propagandize you, try and speak the name of the one you think is behind it. And if you find that you're nervous about it, that's who's put the propaganda out. Now, Second Amendment, they want to take your rights for guns from you, but they want to defund the police. So, you know, that does make sense. Fourth Amendment is the one on search. Now let's get to number 5, Fifth Amendment, the right to be free from self-incrimination.
Okay.
In a civil case, you can be compelled to give evidence against yourself.
Right.
It's not criminal and it's not the state involved. Well, when the lawsuit was filed against Dr. Cosby by this woman that claimed to be a victim, his lawyers immediately asserted the Fifth Amendment because there was the potential for pending criminal charges.
Right.
All he had to say was, I declined to make a statement on the grounds it may tend to incriminate me. Okay, fine. So the trial judge said, okay, you can't make him say anything. So the district attorney wrote a letter and said the district attorney's office declines to prosecute Dr. Cosby. There shall be no jeopardy. So the trial judge said, okay, well, since you can't be prosecuted, then you got to answer. So when he answered, there's a new DA. He said, we revoked that. So we're going to rely on his deposition that he gave, you know, after somebody in the office told him he was immune. Well, I don't honor that. So let's use the evidence in case in chief. There's long history saying no way. The trial judge lost control of the courtroom and its environments. He let half-naked women streak around in front of the camera while the jury was looking out of the windows where they were, the floor above the courtroom, watching them with all of this stuff on, talking about he's guilty. He let demonstrations occur in his courtroom. He didn't issue proper instructions. He admitted that deposition. He delayed for 6 whole months what he was supposed to come up with so the appeal could get started.
Right.
It was just absolutely ridiculous, and I found it, as a retired judge, an embarrassment, quite frankly.
Mm-hmm.
Now, they want to make sure that happens because they say when somebody is accused of doing something like that in a hashtag Me Too situation, well, you know, we need to get rid of the Fifth Amendment. They need to be made to speak. Well, wow. And then another thing that same crowd is coming up with, guys, you need to get rid of this, ready for this one. They want a new definition of rape. Rape by seduction.
Yeah, I heard
So
about
in other
this.
words, if you go out, wine, dine, candlelight, walk in the park, holding hands, your place of mine, and you go and you seduce, and she wants to be seduced, that's supposed to be a felony rape by seduction. They say that you're supposed to ask up front, do you mind if we get down tonight so I can take you out to make it better? We can wine, dine, and I can go through the seductive motions, but already you're saying you're going to give it up right now. So that's going to happen before I come and pick you up. That's the way they want it, which is unreal.
Wow.
And then look at the founder of hashtag Me Too. Honestly, who would want it?
I said that before, but people feel bad.
Like
talk to you, and you like, oh, she looked like KRS-One in the face. You know what I'm saying?
See, the other thing too is Gloria Aldred has been involved in every one of these situations. She's a lesbian, admittedly. Her daughter's a lesbian, admittedly, and they go around talking to these women, most of whom were bi, saying, "Girl, it ain't your fault. It's these horrible men. It's their fault. You got done in. You need to do something about it." And she admitted to me at a cocktail party before an Emmy some years ago, when she had a bit of wine, that she did this just to extort settlements out of people.
Ooh, okay.
So yeah, you know, she even used the word extort.
Right, absolutely.
So the deal that I found interesting was that when they had that cover with all those women claiming that Cosby, okay, I recognize some of them from back parties years ago, where you go to one of these parties where there are black athletes, actors, singers at the time, not rappers and other stuff. They'd come traipsing in with a see-through blouse, no bra. 15 minutes later, the bra would be off and they're topless. 45 minutes later, they'd be naked, but for a gold chain, running around the party naked. Snorting a whole bunch of coke, drinking a whole bunch of high-class liquor, and you go to the want to go to the facilities and you can't get in, the door's locked, and then they're giving somebody a head job, walk out wiping the back of the, you know, hand across the mouth, they're naked. You go in to get something out of your coat, they lay it up on top of your coat, everybody else is turning, you know, getting some. Then you walk down the hallway, almost get slammed in the face by a closet door. Here they are coming out because they were doing somebody in the closet. Same woman 3 times in one little scene. You go back a week later and they're back at the next party.
Right. Now, how does a lawyer allow Cosby to lose that, though? How do you lose
one
that?
Of the problems, let me tell you one of the real problems in law now. Too many people are not practicing law as a profession, but as a business.
Okay.
What you have is large law firms where good law students fight to get in those law firms because they can make a lot of money.
Right.
But they do a lot of pointless research trying to generate billable hours for essentially corporate or well-off clients who can get tax advantages for having legal expenses. All right.
Yeah.
But what winds up happening is the senior partners have tried a number of cases, but other people in the firm for 3, 4, 5, 10 years have not tried any. And this new phenomenon of advertising is not very good, even though you do have some good lawyers that advertise. But what I found when I was a criminal judge is somebody's walking into my court every day with 4, 5, 10 clients, and everybody gets up when he walks out because he's got so many they think he's a good lawyer. Well, he's got some slick ads that he's got on TV, but I know that he's never tried a case. He hadn't even argued a motion over there. He hasn't had a bench trial. He's been out of the in the bar for 5 to 6 years. Finally, somebody says, "Man, I ain't copping out to that damn burglary. I wasn't even in Memphis."
Right.
So when he wants to go to trial, he doesn't know what he's doing, and it's a disaster.
Okay.
Meanwhile, I had one guy in my courtroom for 10 years. He was a part-time public defender. He's a judge now. He also had a private practice. He had 64 serious felony cases. Out of the 64 jury trials over a 10-year period, 61 of them were not guilty verdicts. One of them was a hung jury on a murder case that resulted in a not guilty verdict. And 2 of them were situations where the offer was 10 years. His clients were found guilty of lesser included misdemeanors. So what happened is he walked out the door within 3 hours of the verdict because time served.
Okay. Okay.
So he had 64 victories and 64 jury trials, best record in the state.
Yeah.
And I'd appoint him on a case, and some idiot talking about he wanted a private attorney because you get what you pay for, and he comes walking in with a bozo that's never been in front of a jury.
Right.
And I've seen stuff where it gets absolutely ludicrous. Public defender's office has got 10-year sentence knocked down to 2 years and then down to 1 year. Basically time served, and the guy gets one of these shysters to come in and he wants to plead him out to 5 years when PD had an offer of just 1 year time served.
Yeah. What's amazing is I know exactly what you're talking about. It's a strange phenomenon. Like when I first got out of college, I was going to be a lawyer. I was working in the public defender's office as a clerk, and I would watch how good some of these public defenders were because they are working every day, all day. Now they are overmatched with how many cases they have versus what should be reasonable, you know what I mean? But they end up knowing what they're supposed to be doing, and they have some of the relationships. But the private lawyers that come in, they get the big bucks. These guys don't get the big bucks, you know what I mean? So I thought that was a shame, and I chose not to do it because of that.
Yeah, well, you know what the public defenders are doing is they're getting the equivalent of a young doctor being in an emergency room as a resident, an intern, and then a resident. They're learning the trade.
Right.
But one of the things that makes the civil rights stuff and lawsuits that ought to be filed to protect people's rights so iffy now is too many of the lawyers don't know their way around a courtroom. They're all about the dollar, not the principle. And essentially, you've got no one to prosecute your interest and your rights because you can't afford it, or they're not interested in it.
Right.
Or they're scared of it.
Okay.
Judge, we can't do what you guys did because our circumstances are different. We have to be cognizant of the fact that we can't ruin our careers by getting all of this public sentiment against us. No, fool, that's how you get big time, when you go out and kick butt and everybody wants you to kick butt on their behalf. You keep running around here losing every damn thing because you go along with it.
Yeah.
See, try a damn case.
Yeah. That's why I'm a little bit, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Look at Johnny Cochran.
Yeah.
He didn't get because he slid. He went in there and whooped some behind.
Absolutely. Hats off to Johnny Cochran for sure. I was upset that he passed away. Felt like they killed him, but I'm going to go past
I know
that.
him. I know him. His problem was medical. He was under a lot of stress.
Yeah.
I mean, he was at a point where everything would take off, and he was opening up law firms all around the country.
Right.
And he was getting a lot of stress from that. He just, high stress, and
yeah, I guess
it gets you. And he was 69 years old. Shit happens.
Yeah. So now with the circumstances, we still kind of on Cosby, right? How do we get him out of there? Or does he just have to, he can't appeal, he can't find a way, you know,
Well,
why is he stuck in jail?
What probably needs to happen is somebody needs to get involved, and I think what might happen is a federal habeas action would be the best way to get him out of jail.
Okay.
Now, the problem is if you listen to the left, they want some more of their little butter cake, cupcake judges on there who are disinclined to touch the Fifth Amendment. Actually, we need somebody like Trump who will appoint some judges who will protect the Fifth Amendment. Okay. Over the 50 years I've been involved in law, there's been a role reversal. The left used to be all about protecting a person's Bill of Rights. The Bill of Rights allowances that you had out there. In other words, this is our job. The right wing was into an authoritarian thing. The left now is adopting Nazi-like tactics where they have an agenda that they want to push by, quote, any means necessary, including diminishing the protections that they once used to protect. Now the right wing is beginning to get what it feels like to be the victim of an abuse of those rights. And they're trying to protect it, but they don't really know how. So we need somebody to file a federal habeas. Now, some of the things in the news, let's take Wesley Snipes, okay?
Okay.
They put in the news that he got indicted for tax fraud and everything else, and he served the time. Actually, there were a lot of things wrong with that case. The racist part is the U.S. Attorney's Office down there in Florida, in an area where Mr. Snipes had never been. They engineered it so that motions would be heard and the trial judge sent the prospective jurors home. Well, the U.S. Attorney's Office generated a situation where all the black jurors, every black juror would get the wrong date, so they would not be back in time to be part of the jury panel to get selected from.
Okay.
The judge got pissed, ranted and raved about it, but he didn't find out about it until later, after the trial had come and gone. Now, next thing, that trial took place in an area that has the only freestanding KKK paraphernalia store in America.
Wow.
Next thing that went wrong was his lawyers. His lawyers didn't know what they were doing. They approached the trial wrong. In spite of them, the jurors looked at it, and what they found Mr. Snipes guilty of was 3 counts of failure to file a complete set of returns. Now, I was present. In fact, I testified as a character witness, and IRS was there to say Mr. Snipes overpaid his taxes by $250,000, and they had a refund check for him. So what was cold-blooded about it is they were actually after these 10 or 11 people that were running this tax firm. They had 4,200 plus clients, and Mr. Snipes was the only black one, so they went after him. That's racism. But now on sentencing, it was the most embarrassing thing I've ever seen in my legal, one of the most embarrassing things I've ever seen in my legal career. Good Lord, counsel, what is wrong with you? The court is trying to help your client, Mr. Snipes, out. That's why it has reset this matter of a motion for new trial after sentencing. Would you please put on some character proof? You have to do that if you want the court to give your client some relief. Well, Your Honor, we feel, well, Mr. Go right ahead. It's your case. This is at 9:45. 10:30. Counselor, for God's sake, you can take this up in a motion for new trial. The court has been very impressed by these 27 letters from outstanding character witnesses for your client. Would you please call one of them? Well, Your Honor, okay, 11:45. Good Lord, Counselor, what is the matter here? Why don't you call the character witness? 12:30. We are going to recess. Stop it right now. When we come back, the court wishes to encourage you to call your first character witness. There's some the court would really like to hear from. 1:15, because the court only took a 45-minute recess, so we would have extra time because people had to get on airplanes, right? Jesus Christ almighty, you gonna go into that again? That's on page 11 of your brief, sir, about halfway down. And the other remarks on page 14. The court has read that. Will you call the character witness? So he kept, and he put on some young white chick, 32 years old, who insulted the judge, said, young lady, the court swore you in to let you practice in front of it. You was 32 years old, is that correct? Well, yes, sir. Are you saying that the court that has been a federal judge for 36 years, 4 years longer than you've been breathing air on this planet, is not familiar with the sentencing guidelines? Well, no, sir. Well, with you and your legal team, please do what you're supposed to do so the court can have some leave to keep your client from going to jail. So they kept going, and the court said, stop. We're taking a 10-minute recess. The first witness to take the stand is going to be Judge Brown. The second witness is going to be Colonel so-and-so. The third witness is going to be Dr. Stewart. And the fourth witness is going to, this is enough, 15 minutes each. And if you can't figure out what to do to question these witnesses, the court will do it for you.
Dang.
Everybody was saying, is it this bad, Judge? I said it's worse.
That's how I'm sitting there like, this has to be.
When he got up there, I mean, I got applause. Now, no applause in the court. Thank you, Judge Brown. The court is in light. And next one, that's very good. The judge was examining us because this idiot didn't know what to do. I tried to tell the fool the night before, you trying to steal the case. I'm trying, man, that ain't got nothing to do with what you're supposed to be putting on. Fool had never tried a damn case up in front of a federal court.
Oh,
Thought
wow.
it was all big time. So then when we got to the appeal was so bad. It was written, I've seen ninth graders in a moot court contest do a better job. So his wife called up a bunch of lawyers and retired judges, and we tried to put together a habeas, but the court properly said, well, there's a pending appeal. It was long-winded, it wasn't on point, and the trial judge had said to this fool, the court does not wish to give Mr. Snipes 1 day in time. You haven't even asked the court, but the court's going to order Mr. Snipes' passport returned to him. Mr. Snipes, now you come back for all these proceedings. Yeah? Yes, sir. U.S. government, sit down. The court don't want to hear from you. This is a manifest injustice. But the way things are going, the court's hands are tied. I mean, and they were. I'm looking, God damn, fool. The elements are clear. You ain't even put one of them on yet. Wow. And those guidelines, whereas if you don't hear anything, he's supposed to run this shit wild and consecutive, in other words, and he's supposed to give him the full time. You haven't touched on one damn element. We got called on Larry King Live afterwards, and a juror called up unprompted and said, we had no idea this was going to happen. We thought it was just a technicality where he might have paid a tax penalty, not go to jail.
Right.
So he wound up with a year on each instead of a suspended sentence and a small fine. And it ran consecutive because his dumbass lawyers didn't even know what to do.
Oh, no.
I'll embarrass them in one extent. Guess what? If you ever watch Atlanta Housewives, you can see one or two of them always prominent in there trying to parade around like they're all this and that, and they're not.
Absolutely. So wouldn't that embarrass the law school that they graduated from?
It should.
Everybody involved? Yeah.
It should. But you see, they do slick advertising, and they think they're all this and that because they walk around trying to party, but they don't have what it takes to fight. You see, years ago, Europeans who came and watched the American experiment said the true aristocracy in America are its lawyers. They either maintain the status quo or they rock the boat, turn it over, and they make sure everything works right. And they are the ones that ensure public justice, equity. They deal with making the system works. And then let me give you a list of people: Thomas Jefferson, Abraham Lincoln, Lenin, Trotsky, Mao Zedong, Ho Chi Minh, Fidel Castro. What did they have in common?
Lawyers.
Lawyers. That's exactly it.
Exactly.
And see, lawyers can either maintain the status quo or create revolutions. And what we have right now is we have a bunch of black lawyers who were not taking these law courses as a matter of doing right by the people. They just wanted to make money. Thurgood Marshall, by the way, was known for taking a baseball bat to somebody. They had the guy that just died of, colon cancer, that played Black Panther, played Thurgood Marshall. Doesn't look anything like him. But Thurgood Marshall was known for borrowing 12-gauge shotguns, and he'd shoot it out. Jackie Robinson, the baseball player. I'll give you an unsung story on him. You know why he played baseball? Never played it before in his life. Because he got court-martialed. You know what for? He was captain in the Army with the 761st Armored Regiment. Went to UCLA, ran track, and played football. All-American in both. So what happens is he escorts a fellow officer's wife home, rides in a cab with her, comes back by bus. He was officer of the day, so he had his full Class A uniform on, pistol belt, loaded .45 automatic at his side. They told him to go to the back of the bus. This is down in Texas. He said, go to hell. He's confronted by Texas Rangers, the local police, and MPs. In the testimony of this court-martial, he has his .45 out, jacked around in the chamber, hammered back, and said, some MF is going to die tonight besides me. So he got acquitted. So he rescinded his waiver of a physical injury, his ankle playing football. And he said, what am I going to do? Some of his soldiers said, well, you know, you're the fastest man in America. And at the time, he held the American 100-yard and 220-yard dash records. And said, you know, when you get the bat, everybody backs up 15 feet. So why don't you try with the Negro Leagues? He said, but I've never played baseball in my life. He said, well, try it anyway. So the rest is history. And I got a lot of information about how little understanding Jackie had from Don Newcomb, who was 17 and drafted by the Dodgers at the same time, along with Roy Campanola. They went to the minors. Don Newcomb said, Jackie Robinson take nothing off of nobody.
I heard that.
So, but you don't laud him as somebody that didn't move to the back of the bus because he wasn't peaceful about it.
Because even in the movies that they've made for him, they make it seem like he's just this dude who was passive enough for them to allow him to get to the pros.
No, he was not passive. Newcomb said, I talked to him. Brother looked like he's 20 years younger than he was. Good health, had a fine woman with him at a function. I talked to him for about 2 hours straight. He said, we had to literally drag Jackie Robinson down because he was about to bust somebody in his mouth. He had no understanding. But now look at this. Jackie Robinson played in the football at UCLA. I did too for a little while, but I wasn't as good. Jackie Robinson played halfback. He was All-American at halfback, All-American in track. In the same backfield at wide receiver who ran the 440 and high hurdles at UCLA, All-American in both, was a guy named Don Barksdale. He played for the Lakers as the first brother in the NBA. The other brother, who was the quarterback, caused UCLA to change the name to tailback, was Kenny Washington, who was hired by the Rams in 1946 as the first brother in the NFL. Now, interesting about all three of them, they were all active back in the 30s in what they call pre-civil rights, where you really had to go fight with LAPD, who were some vicious Gestapo thugs back then. They didn't take any crap, and they had what it took to be the first brother somewhere, and each of them did this. The Dodgers haven't been to the pennant in years. they are behind one game. If they lose this one, they don't go to the pennant that year. The score is 2-3. They're behind one run. It's the bottom of the ninth. Jackie Robinson is up, 2 outs. He gets a base hit to first. Yeah. All right. Next batter is up. Jackie Robinson steals second base. All right.
I'm listening.
He steals third base. Same batter is up. Yeah. Now it's 2 strikes and 3 balls on the batter. Jackie Robinson steals home plate and ties the game up. He took a chance, disregarded the line coach, and did it anyway.
Right.
And everybody said, God damn, I heard the game. My old man and all his buddies were listening.
Yeah.
On somebody's car radio. And all the way football. This is one bad dude. We need some more of these Negroes. Damn.
Right. Yeah.
So, what are we going to do about these colored folk playing that we need some more of them? Right. But now we got Obama in there, and what did he do? Nothing. Sat on his ass, didn't do a damn thing. Didn't shake anything.
Very
Don Barksdale was active in all this stuff. The Lakers were in Minnesota. That's where they got the name Lakers. Okay. He was active in what was going on up there in Minnesota, kicked ass, got arrested a whole bunch of times for doing it. Right. But, he was nobody that you could shove over either, which is how black folk got in basketball.
Right.
All right. Same with Kenny Washington. Classmate of mine, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Yep.
Big Lou then. We got in UCLA the same year. There were only 72 black undergrads out of 65,000 students.
Yeah, I have a couple of questions about that. Okay, first of all, I'm sorry, go ahead if you're not
Well,
finished.
let me just say this. He was a scholar. He was in engineering and had a B+ in engineering at UCLA. Every time you saw the brother, he had a big slide rule clipped to his belt. That was before calculators and all that other stuff. Anytime something was happening, when we wanted to try and get more black folk in, come on, Big Lou, we got to go. Where are we going? We going to move on. Let's go. He was there. Mike Warren, Lucius Allen, all of that undefeated, 7 straight seasons undefeated UCLA basketball team. Anytime anything went down, they were there. All right?
Now,
no punking out, no nothing.
Right.
But nowadays, you got these folk that they stick the microphone under their nose and they want to tell us we're supposed to be scared and all this other stuff. They haven't done a damn thing about advancing their people's rights. They haven't put it on the line. They haven't risked anything. They haven't been in jeopardy of going to jail, haven't been in jeopardy of getting shot. And remember, this is the 60s when at Kent State, they gunned down and killed all those white students.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt about that.
So we have to start that again.
Right. Yeah, I think a quick point to add to that. I think a lot of the ways that they keep showing these murders of high-profile black men kind of psychologically has hurt us. Like I grew up watching the Emmett Till, with that Emmett Till murder. Jet was on my table, and then every Martin Luther King murder angle they showed and all of them. But here's what I wanted to ask you real quick. Were you in school at UCLA with Bennett Johnson? Do you know Bennett Johnson?
He's after me.
Okay, but you know who he is?
Yeah, sort of.
Okay. All right. Well, I was wondering this because he went to UCLA too. And it seems like UCLA was ahead of its time when it came to, recruiting young black men, or did they have an open policy?
Well, no, they didn't have an open policy. Here's what happened. Jackie Robinson, Don Barksdale, and all those guys were at UCLA in the late 1930s. Right. They had more blacks at UCLA in the 1930s than they had in the mid-60s.
Okay. And I'm saying, how did that, what happened? Who opened that door? Who opened that?
Here's what happened.
Yeah.
The California Constitution said the University of California was not just about education, but was to prepare leadership for various communities. They even mentioned the Asian, the Mexican, and the black communities, saying that those communities needed leadership. So when I got in UCLA, there were about 62,000 full-time students. There were exactly 72 full-time black undergrads, and exactly 73 full-time black grad students for 145 out of 62,000 students. Well, UCLA had an admission policy as part of the University of California that said admission will be based on a competitive assessment of grade point average, aptitude test, and or other factors that indicate an ability to succeed. We literally physically broke up some faculty members, beat the shit out of them, burnt some stuff up, blew up some squad cars and stuff like that. I'm not saying who.
Yeah.
And they got intimidated, and they said, okay, we're going to let in 250 more black students in mass for 66, 67.
Okay.
And then another 250 for 67, 68. The first group was fine. They were down with the cause and everybody was pulling. The second group, brother, it's not that I don't appreciate all the sacrifices you've made so that I could be admitted, but I can't afford to jeopardize my career. You'll have to go on without me, but I will be there with you in spirit. Now, one clown that we drug was so scared, he pissed on himself. He had on some gray slacks, and there was a dark stain all down his left leg and a puddle of piss at his left shoe where he had peed himself. Well, in later years, he used to brag about all of the stuff he did when he was with the BSU at UCLA. Crap. But you see, we had brothers doing stuff. Yeah. So the basketball team, the football players, the students, we would all sit there and do what we needed to do to get this to happen.
Right.
What we also had advantage of was, since UCLA, being part of the University of California, had no tuition.
Oh, okay.
So we had students who, instead of being 18 and 19, we'd have students who are 34, 35. And I remember one guy, I looked at it and said, man, I know you from somewhere. He said, well, young brother, maybe it'll come to you. So finally, I said, man, don't you run the numbers racket out in South Central for the mob? He said, well, some people have made these allegations. So we had some muscle.
Yeah.
See, sometimes what would happen is the community would say, we got to support this. And our boy, well, he didn't run the mob rackets out there. He was highly placed, let's say. Yeah. So when we needed some backup, we got backup. Right. So when somebody needed to be jacked, you got the professionals came in and did the jacking.
Right, right.
You know, there was a list we made up for kneecaps, shins, you know, tibia, fibia, femurs, humerus, ulna, radius, flanges, you know, jaws, you know, of cheekbones and all of this other stuff. Yeah. That was, you know, would earn points, you know.
Right, right.
So some folk got jacked. So we put things together and we tried to do it. But after that, man, it just went to hell. See, Ron Karinga, that ran the US organization, was trying to exploit this so he could get a 4-year degree program in essentially what we call usology. He had this organization called US. So he was a snitch and worked with the FBI, and he started Kwanzaa in 1966 at Lamert Park on Crenshaw for the Lamert Park residential area. And the design was to get black folk talking so they could provide information to the SIS unit, LAPD, and to the FBI. So everybody that got popped by the FBI, from ordinary folk in the BSU or on the street organizations to H. Brown, had some hookup with the US organization snitching.
Right.
So me and some other guys were acting as bodyguards for H. Brown one week, and the US organization was there. So we told, man, don't trust these dudes. But he said, well, the brother sounds all right. So the US organization agreed to take his luggage to LA International. Now, he was already under federal charges for inciting riots. So what they did is they slipped a carbine in his luggage that they checked in for him. So as soon as, of course, they pull it off because they already know it's supposed to be in there, he gets busted for being a federal defendant in a pending case with a weapon. So they get him on that one more so than what they tried to go after him to begin with. So it was that kind of thing where everybody is trying, the spirit's there, the movement's there, the ballast is there, the pressure is there, and everybody was finding out that the organizations they were trying to be in and do something with had more informants, snitches, and agents as members than they had legit membership.
Okay. Wow.
And then there was that thing at UCLA again, where John Hudgens and Bunchy Carter were there, and I'd recruited both of them to UCLA, along with Geronimo Pratt, also known as G, Elaine Brown, and Nathaniel Clark. Okay. They were in the Panther Party. I recruited them personally.
Yeah.
And they were down there at a meeting that I had attended at high noon in the cafeteria in Campbell Hall with 42 people left in the room. Me and Elaine Brown left to go up to my office. We heard some noise up there. Turned out somebody kicked in my door, put 4 bullets in the back of my chair. We heard noise downstairs. We got back through the stair door to see 40s, us orangutans, we call them, running down the hallway. One of them got hit in the back but kept going. John was sitting up with a revolver in his hands and fired 6 shots. He keeled over. I run in. He's dead. Blood is bubbling out his mouth. Eyes open. Bunchy is face down, propped up on one elbow, and he's moaning, and he's been shot 2 times in the chest, and John's twice in the back. Everybody in there witnessed this, gave the police the names of the people involved, and hell, told some of them could even tell the police where their mamas lived. But interestingly enough, they never arrested the 2 gunmen. They got the 2 accessories. Johnny Cochran represented them. They got convicted of second-degree murder. They got sent to a penal camp. They escaped within 1 week. They took the APB off within 24 hours. Hell, I saw them a year and a half later, 2 years later, at a function at the Palladium Club on Hollywood Boulevard that a guy named Ayuko Babu gave. He still runs the Pan-African Film Festival in L.A. We were trying to raise money for Frelimo. We had Taj Mahal, Pharaoh Sanders, Oscar Brown Jr., Stevie Wonder, Aretha Franklin. They all gave free concerts. We raised a bunch of money for Frelimo. The Us folk wanted $5,000 for a boot dance. We told them to go to hell, but sitting in the audience with these 2 guys that Cochran had represented that had been accessories to John and Bunchy getting killed. So there they sit. I said, "What you doing here?" So we left. So nobody was interested. 25 years later, they tried to surrender. California told them they weren't interested. Right. So, there it goes. They framed G. Johnny Cochran filed all of the post-conviction relief stuff, talking about search and seizure, 4th Amendment, 5th Amendment stuff. And he got the conviction set aside. G got out. He left the country, died abroad a few years back. See, but all of this was going on, and I'd say I knew between 100, 150 people that got murdered under much more atrocious circumstances than anything you've seen out there right now. So when I tell people, you really should see how it will get if you start becoming affected. So people will say, "Why you have a gun on and you walking around your house?" If you say what I say and you know what I know, you need to be armed anywhere so you aren't taken by surprise. This is the way it used to be back when you get to talking about all you can remember was "I'm black and I'm proud," and you don't get the rest of it. There was some cost.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
That's what it is. People die. If you're not doing anything to subject you to jeopardy of being killed, you ain't doing it. Now, let's fast forward. Judge on a Tennessee bench, criminal court, Memphis, Shelby County, Tennessee, middle of the 90s. The judge in question is hearing the James Earl Ray case.
Okay.
It is becoming obvious that something is wrong with it. It becomes obvious to somebody who knows what he's looking at that there was a dive taken on the ballistics.
Yeah.
It became obvious that the FBI supplied the weapons and the ammunition. The shot got fired from the fire station by a two-man team. That started to be discussed in court. One morning about 3 a.m., the judge in question was sitting at his kitchen table. He was tired. He fell asleep, nodded off. The lights were off. He still was sitting up fully clothed. He became aware of something out front, something out back, two people out front, three out back, Kevlar, balaclavas, you know, black hoods, sidearms on hip.
Yeah.
Glass cutter that's suction cup, sticks in the middle of the window. You run the arm around, pull it out. They tried to climb in. Judge let one in the front, one in the back, second one coming in the back, next one coming in the front, opened up, tried to kill those four, killed the number 5 when they shot back. 35 shots. Next morning, found a piece of ear on the windowsill, heavy blood trails, 2 of them front, 2 of them back, 1 light blood trail in the back. Judge didn't get hit. Director of police, the late Director Winfrey, came over with another detective, now the late, who was a client of the judge in years past, determined that in spite of the 30-some shots being fired at that time in the morning in a residential district, no police reports, nobody checked into the hospital or sought medical attention. Same judge gets a call from the secretary, better take this call. Gets the call, 2 friends who are detectives say, Judge, we got somebody out here under surveillance. 2 somebodies are trying to get in your Lexus. 15 minutes later, call back. What is it now? They were trying to plant 2 kilos in your car.
Wow.
The judge in question is me, so I know how that went down.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I shot it out.
You know what? I did know that you were involved with that case. I don't know why you fooled me with that one, Judge.
Yeah, but see, when I tell folk, get real, don't be no punk. You got to have balls, even if you got a high position. They'll kill you for real. They're not off of this bullshit people really get worried about. Right. They will kill you, but you can't shut it up. You got to go do what you got to do.
That's true.
So, you know, they used to follow me all the time. And see, fortunately, you have to build your shield for your back off of what you do with people. Like right now, waiters will come up, hey, Judge Brown's good seeing you. I used to wait on you 27 years ago. So you always treated me right. Well, good, young man. What are you doing? Well, I'm grandfather now, man. And we used to sit down. You remember? Yeah, we talk about manhood. Yeah, man. Like I raised my children that way. Wouldn't take my grandchildren's head. But man, some of my sons got some ignorant wives, man. What's wrong with these people these days? We talk about it. This just happened 2-3 days ago. So, you know, you have to put that shield in place. So when you're driving down the street, cell phone rings, Judge, this so. Yeah, man, what's up? We behind you, man. There's somebody, 2 people in a gray car. They've been tailing you. When you get down here to Union at Cooper, make a left against the no left turn sign and pull into that Exxon parking lot. There's not a station there now, there's something else, but I did. They vamped in, blocked in the person that was following me. We got it from here. Yeah. You know, this kind of thing's going on. So you need somebody to watch your back, but somebody's got to be out front, and you lead from the front. Follow me, not go over there. Not all of this nonsense about some mystic cultural thing of return to Africa. It's the here and now. You have to prepare yourself for dealing with what's going on. The first step of preparation is put in your children's heads, your nieces' heads, your nephews' heads, the same children and nieces and nephews or friends, what it is to be a man, so they start thinking like a man. See, I don't see this anymore. Right. Every day, boy, act like a man. Boy, man doesn't do that. That's how a man act. Nice young man. Okay, all right, now that's how a man acts. Yeah. What the hell do you think you're doing? You got pink panties on, boy? What's the matter with you?
Right.
You know, and this was just over and over. And this came from dad, uncle, granddad. This came from neighbors. This came from mothers, grandmothers, aunts, friend girls of the above, lady neighbors. They all kept talking about act like a man, be a man. So you could not think of life without having that go through your head. They don't even mention it now. We used to come back, and even though there were no black faces, we'd all be acting out what we saw at the Saturday morning matinee at the local theater 3 blocks away, which was a nickel to get in. And you saw John Wayne and, you know, all of this other stuff in the Westerns and all of this where people were acting like men.
Right.
You know, they don't have that now.
Look at these television shows you talking about, man. Every show, even Powers, you know, just men kissing men in the mouth and all types of stuff like that. You know, it's a battle now, and it seems to be by design to me. I feel like it. You know,
it's not that didn't happen. They used to have a gay boy around here, a drag queen. His name was Peaches.
Mm-hmm.
And he used to put on these nightclub performances that the white folk went, or the women on ladies' night would go.
Yeah.
For some reason, but it was kind of a joke. But nowadays it's supposed to be reality. Like, take your booty to the pole. Like they've got one. See, what you might do is look that up and then look up who's in it.
No, I will do that, but I understand what you're saying. Now, here's something that just ran across my timeline, which was I don't know if it's real or not. It looks real, but they have a trans Barbie, and my argument was, why?
Yeah, that's real. That's real.
Yeah, my argument is, why are y'all focusing on little kids like this, man? They shouldn't have to deal with this.
Well, look. Let's not deal with that trans Barbie, which is a black one with blonde hair, with coarsened features, so it looks like it's a male. It also has, you get on there, Black Lesbians Matter in that Black Lives Matter t-shirt they got for it. Okay,
I didn't see that one. I saw the one with Mattel or Barbie on the chest.
Yeah, but
I hear what you're saying.
But the t-shirt that it has in the box that's in the picture circulating is that. But see, you have to go back 4 months when they did an NBC article where Barbie promised a significant number of trans Barbie dolls. So this is just the first one they issued. They had some samples that they showed on television as a news item as, oh, isn't it wonderful? All inclusive. So now that's the first one. They got it looking like some drag queen dude. And by the way, have you noticed how they always make the women look like harlots when they do it?
Yeah, I understand.
Over made up, you know, looking like a madam in a whole house or something like that.
Right.
So
I just have a major problem with the fact that these kids are starting to be focused on sexually.
Well, you know what they're doing?
Yeah, I think I do.
No. Check this out. What did I just say about my generation? Man this, man that, TV, motion pictures, the brothers that were uncles and fathers and grandfathers that had been in World War I, World War II, Korea. They were talking about man stuff, war, guns, killing, you know, taking care of families, responsibility to having to go to work every day. Now what are these kids getting now? They got a gay Barbie, a drag queen Barbie that they are encouraged to play with. And 50 years ago, I heard this nonsense from the lesbian crowd. They were talking about, we need to change the way boys are raised to men. We need to encourage them to play with dolls. And sisters, you must go out and teach your nephews and your grandsons. And if you have any, oh my God, sons by accident, you know, just teach the bastards that they ought to act like girls so they grow up safe. So that's what they get bombarded with. This is the conditional. You know what this thing is about? The drag queens talking to the 3, 4, 5, 6, 8-year-olds, etc. It's to condition them in the same way that a lot of black mothers do. You don't go to church on Sunday, you can't go anywhere the rest of the week. You know, they don't get sexuality, boys and girls 101A. They get drag queens coming in and they start talking to a 6-year-old about homosexuality. What devil is sexuality, teacher? You know,
that's my point too. They're too young.
It's awful.
Yeah.
Well, I'll give you an example. I was in a hotel in LA, not this summer 2020, but 2019, and they were talking about doing another show featuring me, but it got blackballed as usual. And I'm sitting downstairs in the lobby, and these two 11-year-old boys walked by arm in arm, hugged up, and they kissed each other. I said, "Are you gay?" "Huh?" I said, "Are you gay?" So what was wrong with that? I said, "Where'd you get that?" "They told us it's all right to kiss your friends in school." I said, "You know what that means?" And I explained it to them. They jumped back from each other. "Is that what it means?" I said, "Yeah." So
Wow.
I got in the limo, went to the airport. I knew somebody would have probably screeched and hollered if they'd known I'd done it.
Yeah.
But, you know, they had no idea what it meant to. But there they are, leaned on each other, kissing on the lips because they got told I was all right in school. When they found out, like, it means your ding-a-ling, you know, goes in his butt thing or vice versa, that's what it means. Oh, hell no. Or you put your mouth on it and suck it. Oh, no. Jump back, see?
Oh, I would have loved to have seen that, boy. That would have been a great video.
What I used to do for principals,
Yeah.
I know there are those who would be horrified by that, but you know, shit happens in the real
you know
world.
what? We gotta start putting the truth in their laps now, because we got too much to make up for that we fighting against. That's how I do it. I've promised myself to stop worrying about people's feelings. Because what's happening is we so worried about their feelings that we letting them lie to themselves, and we letting ourselves be lied to, and we getting our asses kicked because of it.
Sagged and bagged.
Yeah.
Sagged, bagged, and dragged.
Exactly.
Principal said, "How did you get them to all pull their pants up?" I just told them where it came from.
Right. Exactly.
Young Brothers, 1980, is July, hot as hell. The air conditioning broken down. I'm interviewing this fiend felon on the yard. I got a yellow pad. I look up, somebody's walking around sagged, bagged, and dragged. I said, "What the hell is that?" "Oh, Lawyer Brown, we got everything up in here except soft booties. So we making some man pussy out of them. We making them wear it like that, so see, when the guards ain't around, we can bend them down, pull them down, and get down. And if they run, they fall to their ankles, booty up in the air, ready to go, because they can't go nowhere. So when they're on the cell block, we make them take them pants off. We won't let them wear no panties and see them baggy shirts. That's their dress. We already done made some jewelry for dude off in metal shop. And Jamal done got baby sis sending a care package with rouge, eyeshadow, mascara, lipstick, plastic nails, and nail polish. We gonna girl dude out and make us some man pussy out dude. Damn. So that's a signal. See, what it is he a short timer. Most of us off in here and doing life a long time. So we need some man pussy. So we making some. And then they wear that, don't realize it. 10 years later, it meant you belong to somebody specifically, not just everybody, but that's the way the life goes when you get behind the wall. So I said, everybody out there who wants to look like they're a piece of man pussy, go right ahead. Sag, bag, and drag. Somebody might mistake you for being serious or knowing what you're signifying. Go right ahead. You know, the day is supposed to be popular. Why not? You know, sissy on up, dude.
Right.
And
man, I hope they listen to that. I might have to cut that part out and just put it out on its own, bro, because we need these little dudes to hear that. They like, it's a style. I'm like, yeah, it's a style. I mean, you finna get boned, dude. What are you thinking? But they don't hear it.
Well, look at this. White Station High School in Memphis last year for Homecoming Queen. The winner, whose proud, overweight mama was just so happy, was 6'4" and 280-pound boy in an off-shoulder gold evening gown because he had won his homecoming queen and you got these like bewildered looking cute little girls who were part of his court because they were runner-ups in the contest for homecoming queen, and this Bigfoot drag queen that ought to be on, well, I guess he wasn't tough enough to play football. Right. He was so pleased when his mama put the crown on his nappy head, and, you know, with all the makeup on and lipstick and glitter and girl bling and his off-shoulder lame glittering gown. I said, this is disgusting. I said, you know what? I'm ashamed of ever having spoken at this high school. So some of them wanted to defend it. I said, hey, it's the 21st century. You can be a punk if you want to. That's your business.
That's true.
You know,
he probably had Magic Son's post on his
How dare you make that boy feel bad? I said, I'll make him feel bad to set an example. That's what I did. Yeah. How bad do you think these folks did when I said the court finds applying the sentencing guidelines, the defendant is hereby sentenced to 15 years in a state penitentiary as a range 2 multiple offender. That means booty up in the air, ain't gone nowhere. Right. Dick going in there. And let me tell you about these dudes. In Shelby County, if you got 8 years or less, you could be sentenced to the county jail because the county had a contract with the city. But if you were in the county jail, you could apply to a judge for suspension of remainder of sentence. If you went to the if you went to the Department of Corrections, you had to go before a parole board. So I'm sitting there in my chair at the bench. It's Thursday, last Thursday in the month. If you don't have a trial, that's when you hear the petitions to suspend remainder of sentence. I got 11 people in front of me that have a petition to suspend sentence. 9 of them are HIV positive because all 11 of them been butt busting each other. And I've got them testifying about they want to go home and their friend girl, they're going to set up housekeeping. So although they really got freaked out about me, I just say, you've been identified as the significant other for this one. Is that correct? Yes, sir. You, ma'am, this one. So I said, well, the court will read from you for the reports on, which is the same language on all of them. Says the petitioner has tested positive for HIV and is highly infective. So if you get with him, you could be dead. You catch HIV, and in those days, they didn't have any treatment for it. And say 2 of them are positive for AIDS, AIDS. So 2 of you, if you deal with it, you're dead, and the other, 7, you're in high jeopardy. He's HIV positive. So if you want him, oh, hell no, don't trust ma'am. But the court will excuse it. It understands the shock. Right. But, Your Honor, that's unfair. I said, they're in jail. They want to get out of jail. These people have done nothing. They want to live and keep breathing. The court feels its obligation is to society at large, so these ladies can keep breathing and they can suffer the consequences of doing what they were doing inside. Right. Wow. And they so selfish, they didn't care. They was finna give them to the ladies. Yeah. Well, yeah. And see, the other thing was, somebody, still a friend of mine, worked for CDC, and they actually know what they're doing. They came through when they had a STD hotspot, which was the Memphis Shelby County jail system. So she gave me and several other judges who were interesting a presentation, and from their information, if somebody gets 14 months in a penitentiary, there is a 92% probability that they would have had multiple voluntary and involuntary homosexual contacts. Wow. We had a situation where a late sister who was a representative put in a conscientious act. She passed it so it would be required that anybody who went into the system between 18 and 25 would be tested for HIV upon entry into the system and upon release. It was running somewhere 4 to 8% input, but between 28 and 42% going out would be positive with HIV. Mm. And one of the things that I was trying to do was the person, white, who was in charge of the jail system was a born-again Southern Baptist, and he didn't believe in prophylactics being allowed, but he would approve the sale on commissary of KY packets and Vaseline packets. So all of this HIV is going on because he's so wired up behind being a good Jesus follower that they can't protect themselves. That's the Lord's damnation upon them for these grotesqueries. Well, you got them in your jail. And see, the other thing is I used to take people on tours of the jail. It was a new jail, and the walls are hollow, so you can walk down the walls and look through vents that don't look like they are two-way from the outside, or through the one-way or two-way mirrors in the bathrooms. Man, you couldn't walk through there without seeing 4 or 5 instances of somebody giving up some head or bending over and getting it or whatever it may be. So they go, I did not know there was that much homosexuality. Yeah. And you walk through and you see somebody that's in your courtroom. Yeah. And you might run into them out on the streets and they're trying to play OG, but they just got butt busted, you know, less than 3 months before you were looking at them.
Damn.
See, so this stuff spread.
Yeah.
And see, one thing, the system hates rape. It's very bad. Most real men hate rape, but you get so many false accusations that you start taking everything with a grain of salt. Well, why did you charge him? He said he's going to pay my rent. I'm going to fix his ass.
Oh,
so he didn't do anything.
So okay, well, you making a transition from jailhouse man-on-man rape to just general woman and man rape.
But I'm going to tie it into the other one.
Okay.
I had a client and another client who was a detective in sex crimes, a former client. He said, don't you represent someone? So I said, yeah, bring him down. We've got 2 accusations of aggravated rape against him. Damn. Get him together. So I'm sitting there and there's a mess going on. So we just happen to be sitting on a bench under the clock.
Mm-hmm.
My former client, who was the detective, comes over and says, we'll get to you, man. He said, I wasn't a judge. I was a lawyer then. So he said, okay, we'll get to you, man. We got hell going on. So they're running and scrambling. So the phone on his desk kept ringing. So another detective answered, said, John, you need to get over here. Man, you need to take this call. So he took the call and he said, yeah, when did this happen? And I said, something's going on, because he's repeating it back so I can hear it. Less than 5 minutes ago, and he tied you up and just raped you again, and he ran out no less than 5 minutes ago, and you were looking at the clock on the wall. He came over and said, you and your client can go. I said, what happened? He said, that's the same one that was complaining. He raped her on 2 prior occasions. She said he just did 5 minutes ago, and you've been sitting here for the last hour. So I know it couldn't be him. It is at least 45 minutes through the traffic to get between there and here. So you're free to go. But now back to this. That said, every now and then you actually had somebody who was a real rapist. Now, you know, one of the most interesting scenarios behind the people who were really rapists?
Listening.
They got snatched into a vacant apartment up in the projects and butt raped by 7 or 8 guys who had just recently gotten out of the penitentiary.
Ugh.
So they were scapegoating women. See, rape, the vicious kind, is not about sexual gratification.
Right.
It's about punishing somebody, scapegoating somebody.
Yeah.
So what happened was, these folk had gotten homosexually raped by recent inmates, and they punished women by doing it to women. And if you sentence somebody to prison, you're sentencing them to be homosexually raped.
Right. Yeah, that's why I stayed clean out of jail. That's one of my main reasons that I can't, do no crime. Like, I don't want to be raped. It's the truth. I mean, that's the main penalty. Even like you think about it, the death penalty isn't as scary as some of the threats of being anally raped, So.
Well, yeah, and then there's another thing too. See, some folk don't get raped, but they damn near have to ambush and have killed somebody who is looking like they're gonna do it, so they get another 4 years, 3 years, 2 years tacked onto the sentence. Nobody will bother them because they come across as crazy.
25 years.
Yeah, so that's just what you're doing when you're putting people in. That's what that sagged and bagged thing comes out. It's like, man, you got to do what a man got to do. No, fool, you don't have to do that. That's not man.
Right.
You know, and plus why you in there. Well, see, it's wrong. Like, no, see, most of the people, the brothers off in the penitentiaries aren't in there for playing Robin Hood. They raped, poisoned, jacked up, burglarized, stole, and gangstered people that are their neighbors.
Right.
See, so OGs tell you one thing. Yeah, man, you know, I'm down with the cause, man. You know, like, man, they've been trying to get me to lay everybody out, man. But, you know, I'm hanging, man, because I'm the man, you know, blah, blah, blah. So he's in court on a recess saying this to his homeboy. So you standing there at the door just waiting for lawyers to come in with more business. Finally, when you say, all right, come on up, say, you ready to go on this motion to suppress the statement? Oh, yes, sir. State, you ready? Yes, sir. All right, well, Mr. Duckett, all rise. This court is now back in session pursuant to adjournment. All right, we'll take a short recess, 5 minutes. Everyone will assemble in the court's chambers. Madam Court Reporter, if you'll bring your machines back, we'll start on this motion to suppress. The court's advised there is a video. It will view it with counsel in camera. All right, back in chambers. All right, bad man OG sitting out there fronting off to his gangster buddies. Here's what you get. I don't want no lie. I just want my mama. Oh, let me talk about mama. Sir, here's some claims. You can't have your mother, but we'd suggest you get a lawyer. If you can't afford one, we'll appoint one. We've got some on standby. I want to talk to no lawyer. I just want my mama. Well, sir, you don't have to make a statement. Only if they made me do it, it was stop the law, daddy. And I man, they was the ones that wasn't me.
Yep.
And you see, I'd get out there and I'd break that up. Yeah. Let's see, Stomp, Iceman, and Long Daddy. Let's say he was trying to give them up, you know.
Yeah.
And he confessed. They asked him by the court's count 8 times if he wanted a lawyer. And on 6 of those counts, they said, we suggest you avail yourself of one. He declined. He just kept begging for his mama. They just kept passing him Kleenex to wipe his nose in his face because snot was running and flying and tears were rolling. So the court finds that he's 27 years old. He doesn't need his mama. He needed a lawyer, but he waived it, and he signed 3 waivers. So the court will allow the confession to be introduced as evidence.
Right.
Man, you told us quiet. Go conversation in the courtroom. Right.
Damn.
See,
so do you find, so at this point in history, I gotta let you, you know, I could listen to you all day, Judge, and I know you probably could go, but can I just ask you a couple of questions about the judicial system itself now? I see a lot of situations where it looks like the prosecutors are racist, like you mentioned in the past, and
they are. Let me tell you where you come in.
Yes,
was wrong.
I'll listen to you.
I know where you're going. Let me say the main problem with being judge and prosecutor is those used to be avocations where people sort of got discovered, they came upon it, or, you know, they got called to it, so to speak.
Yes.
But now you have people who are 6, 7 years old saying they want to be a judge because they see it on TV.
Right.
They want to be a prosecutor because it's been made glamorous. They don't know what it's about. And they are trying so anxiously to get into it that they don't have proper preparation in terms of knowledge and wisdom in the law, and knowledge and experience and wisdom in life to bring to the office.
Right.
You've got too many people now that the profession has gotten so glutted, who got run home too often when they were in junior high and high school by bullies, and they never learned how to deal with a bully. So now they want to bully others. So they're using the positions of power to get vengeance on everybody. The other point is that old time, you knew where you stood. These folk have gotten nice, nasty about it. And they are more sophisticated about it. This actually happened. It's a jury trial. It's on a record. Court reporter, woman that was a law partner of mine and I, we're trying to call trial. It's us. There are 3 other co-defendants, 3 whites. We got 1 brother. The jury is in the box and the court calls us up. Mrs. So-and-so, Mr. Brown, general counsel for defense, would you approach the bench? And the jury sat right next to the judge in his courtroom. And he said, Mr. Brown, is that a nigger you two are representing on trial with these 3 white men? Or another kind? This is 1980 now, 79 or 80. Here's the situation. Boys and girls, the court is so glad for you to come here and see how your government works. We have 12 people, the jury, alternates, blah, 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 blah. The Attorney General's office who represents you, distinguished members of the bar, and he introduced each of us. And sitting behind them, we have 3 niggers who stole a lot of cars from some white dealers.
1980?
1980. First time I got locked up for 5 days because I wouldn't back down on defending a woman just a few years ago.
Yeah, I know.
In a kangaroo court, juvenile court. But the first time I appeared there, now, not quite 50 years ago, I had 5 clients. I was working for legal services. This was poverty law. The judge had he dropped out of the 6th grade. That was the extent of his education. It was so racist up in there in such a circus. I just zoned out. I was looking at some file folders on my clients. This bailiff shakes me, said, boy, judge talking. He said, who the hell you calling boy? The judge said, nigger, don't you hear me talking to you, boy? I said, who the hell you calling a nigger? Goddamn you, peck of wood honky.
Yeah.
Like 1970, what is it, 73, something like that. So the bailiff wants to get up, and I know that these guys aren't really deputy sheriffs. They're his private bailiffs. I said, you pull that gun, I'm sticking it up your mama's ass. So it got real ugly until he found out I was a lawyer and I'd been recording it. Who the hell are you calling me that? I'm a member of the bar, damn it, you aren't.
Right. Wow.
And it is settled down, but that's, you know, that's been going on for years.
Yeah.
See, it's like that.
Yeah.
And you get these things. You know how I backed his ass off when I was on the bench and he was still alive? I had to blackmail him.
Is that right?
You know how I blackmailed him? I didn't do it.
Yeah.
3 white retired detectives who hated his guts said, Judge Brown, we got a care package for you. I said, what's that? We hate that son of a bitch, Kenny Turner. I said, yeah. You know he used to be captain over the Vice Squad. I said, yeah, I'm aware of that. He said, pull something out of that package, big, thick manila envelope. Anyone, don't make no difference which one. I pulled it out. It read, we the below signed officers receiving a call from dispatch to back up a vice operation arrived at such and such and such and such, such as upon entry, we observed Sergeant Turner bent across the back of a couch being sodomized by one of the suspects. Oh! He said, grab another. I went a little further down. Arriving at so-and-so, we observed Lieutenant Turner on his knees performing fellatio upon one of the suspects. I said, oh!
Whoa!
I pulled out another. It went on like that.
Yeah.
So what they did is they carefully Xeroxed it on somebody else's Xerox machine.
Yeah.
And they got a sanitized vanilla envelope, put 4 or 5 of these in there, and they took it down to juvenile court after hours and slid it under his door. Didn't have any more trouble with him.
Right. Wow.
And that had been going on prior to 1963. What I'm looking at is from like 1954 up to 1963. This dude's predecessor was a woman. She held the last slave auction in America. She was famously auditioning black kids, bright half-breed kids, and curly-haired little white kids off to celebrities for money. She'd have auctions. She'd pocket the money.
Ooh. You know, I've heard a lot about that Hollywood, LA scene of, you know, where they was dealing with little kids like that, man. And, you know, this Jeffrey Epstein situation and all of that is come to, you know, come out of the dirt all of a sudden. What's your opinion on that? I mean,
look, I'm from Memphis. Well, Los Angeles by way of Memphis. So when they started running game on me at Hollywood, I had a friend was in sex crimes, and a lot of what I would get is the juvenile court here was taking little cute curly-haired white kids, and their mothers would be in some kind of trouble, and they'd pick them up and take them into protective custody. So some of these celebrities would come out to Memphis, and they were turned on to this little track. They'd go through the juvenile court here, and the juvenile court would rent out these little kids to them, and they'd take them to Hot Springs, Arkansas, where they've got these hot springs and stuff, and they'd party with these little 11, 12, 13, 14-year-old curly-haired, cute little boy kids and bring them back late Monday. They'd come from out of town. Some of them were from L.A., some of them were for local. See, that's been going on for a long time. So that's even recently. So I would just start taking down names, and sometimes they get to missing. I say, well, did you take a trip to Shelby County on such and such day? And let's say juvenile court, and let's say hotel and Hot Springs, and there was checked out kid named so-and-so, and see, the detectives were trying to get people busted, but the powers that be wouldn't do it. I exposed the current female DA is a lesbian whose lover was her personal secretary. That's a no-no under unemployment law, and everybody wanted to get weirded out. That was 6 years ago. Now that you were telling the truth.
Right.
But see, that was in those days when still around here being late, you're not supposed to talk about a woman. But as I said, I agree. I wouldn't talk about a lady, but when you interject yourself in a dirty way in the stuff that starts impacting people's lives, you're open to exposure.
Right.
And let me tell you, I got a situation on this block I'm on. There's only two other black families on this street. It's way upscale. So there is this black family on this street, lives next door to a white family. The kids went to Germantown High School.
Yeah.
Both of them played football. So the white kid borrows dad's car, picks the black kid up. They go pick up another white kid. They go out and party. It's Friday.
Right.
The black kid's sitting in the back seat. These kids decide they're going to smoke some joints, drink a little beer, right? One of them makes a clumsy turn and gets pulled over not far from the house. I'd say, hell, I jog down there and back off. It's okay. What happens is they take the two white kids to Germantown City Court. They take the black kid 20-some miles downtown to juvenile court. None of them have a record. On the first appearance with the two white kids, they get talked about, pat on the back of the hand, lectured. The parents pay about $400 or $500 in court costs. That's the end of the matter. Year and a half later, this kid's now 18 when somebody filed a habeas and dropped the whole damn thing. They have jacked this kid around, required the parents to go through all of this online counseling. It's cost them about $5,000, and all this stuff, ruined this boy. And instead of him just getting a record as a juvenile, which is no record at all because the matter got dismissed by the Germantown court. This kid has got a record now that transcends into being an adult with a drug situation on him. And they didn't have any proof because there are 3 roaches in the ashtray. He's sitting in the back. At most, it's constructive possession. That case needs to be dismissed because they didn't do what they needed to do to put the case on it. But they took him, the black one, all the way down to be tried by the juvenile court rather than the local city courts.
Right, right.
Now that, I never checked back with them, but as of 4 or 5 years ago, that was still going on. So that kind of racism exists.
Oh, without a doubt. Yeah.
But now let me tell you the other kind of racism that's brought on by itself. Okay. They've got gentrification downtown, midtown Memphis, because they're moving all of this LGBT community into a certain area and they're gentrifying. So they're throwing a lot of people out. They got to go someplace. So in this area, the homes started $1.5 million and go up. Okay.
Right.
So they bought what was zoned for agricultural land and they put a housing development in there with 4,800 units, right? It's supposed to be moderate to low income housing. It's less than a mile away. Well, a mile down from that one, they put in a similar thing and they had a black, upscale black suburb. And I know one brother over there said, Judge, man, I haven't had a burglary in the 18 years I've been there. Since they opened this thing up, man, I've been burglarized 6 times in the last 14 months. This is crazy.
Damn.
Same thing happening over here. So to get a draw, the developer gave $18,000 a piece to several members of the alderman's board here for Germantown. They changed the zoning regulation so they could put in what was supposed to be a junior high school to draw in people to fill up the housing development a mile away, low income Section 8 stuff.
Right.
And what they wanted was to get everybody to sell and move out so they could get the property cheap, then give it to their grandson. So 30 years from now, they could gentrify. Now, here's the thing. We were trying to get lawyers. So everybody over here is a millionaire. No question about getting the fee through the homeowners association. Right. Somebody could have made themselves a good $1.5 million, $2 million off of this if they took the case. White folks said, you don't want to deal with Germantown City. And they said, Judge, hell, maybe we can get a black lawyer. You know, hell, give them a chance to make some money.
Right.
You know, they couldn't find a black lawyer with the balls to take it down. Well, we don't want to ruin our career. Oh, you getting $2 million out of this damn thing.
Right.
What else the matter with you? You don't want to take this case down.
Right.
You don't have that kind of, whoa, man. I'm going, I don't understand this. What happened? They offering these fools $500 grand for a goddamn retainer. And these fools scared to take it.
Damn.
What is the matter? And then they started telling me, well, look at what the bar does. If we do this, they'll jack us up and they will suspend or revoke our law licenses. Man, you just got to go for it, man. Get some balls. What is the matter?
Judge Joe.
$500K on the barrelhead.
Yeah.
Put you on this, and all these folk that own these businesses over here will hire you to represent their corporations and mega businesses. And you damn fool, don't want to take the case and build your. What is the matter? How scary are you?
Damn.
I said, oh, I got to stop before I get the big one. I wasn't in danger, but I just like, man, I want to strangle one of you fools.
Right, right. Wow. Hey, we have the same problems up here in Chicago. It's a lot of guys that still, you know, have the guts to be a good lawyer, but it's a lot of them that don't. To me, it seems like. Go ahead, I'm listening.
Up there, just a little unsolicited observation. If I was a lawyer to practice criminal law in Chicago, every damn client of mine charged with a nonviolent misdemeanor or felony, I'd file a motion to dismiss and a claim of selective prosecution because your Kim Fox said on Juicy Jesse that it's a crime, nonviolent crime, and we don't have time to prosecute that. And put that in the record because that was incompetence. She initially excused herself because she hung out with Juicy Jesse's family trying to be trendy, and then she jumps back in to drop the charges. Now, you want to know where they went? Your detectives have video footage of Juicy Jesse and one of the Nigerians going in a costume shop Halloween week and buying that fake noose.
Ooh.
Juicy Jesse is a nephew by marriage of Kama Sutra Harris. And
wow.
And the day that this happened, there are pictures of them at the same rally for her. Now, there was a bill that Cummings introduced in 1997, now known as the, what is it? The equal, it'll come to me. It was tabled and had been since 1997. It got recently tabled. They wound up bringing it off the table and they labeled it the anti-lynch bill.
Okay.
And it passed on a voice vote, House and Senate, with no debate. And there is not a mention in it about lynching. There's not a mention in it about Black people. It basically inserts the language to protect the LGBTQ community and pedophiles. What do they call it? The Equality Act. Yeah, that's it. They labeled it the anti-lynch bill. Has nothing to do with Black folk, nothing to do with lynching. It's all about putting pedophilia in there. The language they put in dealing with pedophiles is 4 words short of the entire definition clinically of what you would get if you ordered a pedophile who got found guilty or pled guilty to child abuse, sexual abuse of a child. That would be all but those 4 words in there. So all they got to do is add it. And what the bill does is put all of that language in every bill to which it must apply. So that's what he did. He was being a hero to the LGBT queer cause. By the way, that's what they call themselves. Q stands for questioning and queer. Same thing for BLM. The 3rd clause from the bottom says they are a queer affirming network. So, you know, look at it.
Yeah.
Selective prosecution. Why is it the GAO, General Accounting Office, has said it's okay to put BLM flags up on federal buildings because they're not under the Hatch Act, since they're not political. But if you went to the site and you looked at the page they've now taken down, it says that the money you send them is A, not tax deductible, B, it is collected by an organization known as Act Blue, which turns out to be an affiliate of the Democratic Party. And they list by name and amounts all of the candidates that they donated to in the primary, which makes it totally Hatch Act illegal to be involving federal employees. So you have all of these federal employees in the federal enclave of Washington, D.C., who are painting rainbow stuff and BLM stuff, a federal office building where you got a 20-story banner outside BLM, which is totally in violation of the 1934 Hatch Act, but they didn't even do the research. I don't know why, except for the fact that I've now noticed that when you go to a government agency, clerk's office or something like that, you know, wow, the gaydar is going way, way off. And like, why do all these people has lisp and they switch when they're supposed to have, you know, male equipment, and they're flipping their hands around and they're blowing kisses at each other up in this office? I mean, it's their political right, but it's your money, our tax dollars.
Yeah, I'm speaking.
And I'm concerned about all these boys who want to play OG and wreck their communities. And then when you look at them, they're crying, snot blowing all out their nose because they don't know manhood.
Right. Dealing with consequences. Well, Joe, well, Your Honor, I'm going to have to close out this thing. And I absolutely appreciate you taking this time to spend with me. And once I start cutting this thing up, because you done done a few hours. You know,
I know. Give you a good dose, you can make a few shows. Let me just give you the closing bit, and I'll get off.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Man up. If you got to man up, it's about protecting womanhood, promoting manhood. It's about duty, honor, responsibility, accountability, dependability. It's about making where you live a better, safer, more secure place, filled with economic prosperity, sense of purpose, ethics, and morality. It's about preparing yourself to be a man. It's about doing what you need to do as a man. It's about getting satisfaction from doing what you ought to do instead of what you feel like you want to do. It's about doing those things that will get you through that tunnel to the daylight at its end, so that you can be given the chance to be a hero by slaying the fire-breathing Gila monsters that are setting fire to that tunnel on the way, or dying in glory because you're getting somebody you're responsible for to the end. That's what it's about.
That's right.
Not be what you want to be what you ought to be, and mindset yourself so that what you ought to be is what you want to be.
That's right.
Man the hell up.
All right, Judge.
All right, man.
Thank you, sir. Have a great night.
There you go.